towering white sandstone cliffs, forming a spectacular steep-sided gorge, lush side gorges. A boulder-strewn creek continuously winding through the gorge. The home of ancient plants and animals, but, above all, a wealth of cultural and natural heritage. Carnarvon Gorge, a natural monument to the power of water, wind and time. Carnarvon is located 600 kilometres northwest of Brisbane, in the heart of central Queensland, Australia. The sandstone layer was deposited under the sea some 200 million years ago. After emerging from the sea, it's been eroded by the creek during the last 27 million years, leaving towering cliffs up to 600 meters high. The water filters through the sandstone layer, and when it hits the lower level, it sips out, forming the many creeks that end up feeding the Carnarvon main stream. With a constant level all year round, water takes 5,000 to 10,000 years to pass through the massive sandstone layer. There are near 90 kilometers of trails around the gorge. A world of discovery in this ancient landscape, a walking back in time. When we hit the trails, we are going many thousands of years back over the steps of the ancient owners of the land. We will be trekking or hiking 1/3 of the trails to be immersed into the beauty and grandeur of this natural treasure. The trip starts in Brisbane, going west to Roma, near 500 kilometers to the west. Then turning north on the Carnarvon Highway for some 200 kilometers. Later left again for 40 kilometers of unsealed road to the camping ground, for near the gorge entrance. After a recovering night's sleep, we commence visiting the lower portion of the gorge, the mouth. It offers short walks to several interesting sites. The best place to start is the day-use area on the National Park headquarters. Eastern grey kangaroos roam free here, little afraid of man, with practically no predators around. The same is true for the whiptail wallaby, also known as pretty-faced wallaby. Less conspicuous than the previous two are the red-necked wallaby and the swamp wallaby. Among birds there is the omnipresent pied currawong. In huge numbers, it can be extremely aggressive, begging for food since it has been hand-fed in the past. We even captured an individual killing a fledgling that fell from its nest. This will feed its chicks. That is how nature works, otherwise it probably would have been a slow death by a swarm of ants. Another species high in numbers is the noisy friar bird. The white-winged chough, always in flocks, scanning the ground and showing its weird behavior. The apostle bird, closely related to the chough. Australian bustard and the emu are seen on farmlands approaching the gorge. Among the small ones we find finches, pardalotes and more. Crossing the Carnarvon Creek, there is the nature trail running parallel to the creek. A few hundred meters down there is a pool where at dawn or dusk is easy to spot a platypus couple scanning the water in search for small invertebrates. A very common sight for the avid naturalist. We take the afternoon to explore the places on the gorge's mouth. First, the Ballan Cave, named after the Aboriginal word balloon meaning stone axe. The sandstone rock overhangs. Aboriginal rock art created by ochre stencils of hands and axes can be seen. Details of Aboriginal tools are often recorded in stenciled images. The walking track into Mickey Creek forks through lush vegetation for about 1.5 kilometers into two subgorges. We decided to go to the base of the wall, and, as we were warned about echidnas, we felt it was better to lay and wait instead of exploring the subgorges. The cool microclimate in Mickey's Creek allows them to be active all day, and the ground cover is thin enough that you have half a chance of observing them if they are present, as seen in the images. The third destination on the mouth of the gorge is the Rock Pool. Carved from the bed of Carnarvon Creek by the turbulent water of past floods, it is shaded by fig and casuarina trees. Rock Pool is the only allowed place to swim in Carnarvon Creek, of course in summer. Now in autumn is too cold. A great sunset and a good night's sleep to get an early start to the first day of long walking to the Wards Canyon and the Art Gallery, the furthest two landmarks we are able to reach on the gorge. A 13-kilometer round-trip trekking experience. We park at the National Park's grounds and cross the creek for the first time, one of the 6 crossing up to the final destination. After this crossing, we leave the nature trail behind, heading towards the main track up. The track runs on the right of the creek for several kilometers, but goes up and downhill. After some 20 minutes at a good pace, we leave behind the Bulimba Bluff sign and continue through the main track. We take a short deserved rest at the top of the hill, with the creek behind the forest, and head down to the creek level to encounter the Moss Garden sign. On the right we go for the second crossing. A sandy path to the amphitheater sign, then to the right for the third and fourth creek crossing. Walking through a casuarina grove. Finally, the Wards Canyon sign. A short tiring steep rise of 270 meters up through Spotted Gums leads to the lower falls. Another final push, and we are into the shaded canyon. Wards Canyon is home to the king fern, the largest in Australia. These impressive, green dinosaurs have strong links to the ancient flora of Gondwanaland. The place is very cold and humid. Reason for the ferns: there is evidence that it was used on ancient times as a fridge to keep the product of hunts for long time. On modern times, the legend says that some game hunters kept the kills, mostly furs, obtained during the prohibited season, to go out to the market with them when the season opened. It is though a fantastic and unique place. We leave behind the Wards Canyon to reach the main destination, the Art Gallery. After retracing our steps downwards, there is still a good trek before us. After the next crossroads, we do left for our 6th creek crossing. Then again, we must go up and up and up. A final push, and we are almost there. Finally, after an exhausting, unbelievable trekking, and the longest accomplished carrying video gear, we made it. The Art Gallery is here. Archaeologically and anthropologically, these sites are of international significance, containing examples of stenciling techniques considered to be the most sophisticated of their kind in the world. Over 2,000 engravings, ochre stencil, and freehand paintings adorn this 62 meters long sandstone walls, one of the best examples of stencil art in Australia. Carnarvon Gorge's rock art sites are thought to have been in use for at least 3,650 years. In one area of the park, still up on the gorge, excavations in a cave revealed occupational evidence dating back 19,500 years. Here we find a creation story. The long sinuous engraving representing Mundagurra, one of the creation ancestors. Animal stories, oval depressions representing emu eggs, one of the totems for family groups passed from one generation to the other through the mothers. A woman's story. Important ceremonial and rituals associated with these engravings were performed here by women. A story of resources, shields made out of timber of the Bats's wing coral tree, nets made from the strong inner fiber of the Kurrajong tree, send goannas to eat and used in medicines. A story of tools, axes, boomerangs, shields, shelters and containers, used to build the oldest human civilization evolved out of Africa, passing the knowledge from generation to generation. A last look at this mystical site before we head down to camp, taking some snapshots of this ancient landscape that led us to learn some of its secrets. Next day we are again on track to explore the other two landmarks of the gorge, the Moss Garden and the amphitheatre, a 12-kilometre round trip from the car parking at the entrance of the gorge. This car park forest is full of Zamia palm. The toxic seeds were used as a food by Aboriginals after extensive processing. We've seen kangaroos and other macropods eat them cautiously. We head to the trekking doing the very same 8 kilometers to the Moss Garden track of the previous day. After arriving to the sign, we take the left on the cross tracks. First a creek crossing, then a comfortable walk to another creek crossing. Then our nightmare, stairs, stairs and stairs. They are there to make the ascent easier, but if it does not rain, we prefer the hiking. Another set of stairs, then a short walk to the gorge and we are there. A canyon with tall walls produces at its base this botanical marvel. Water drips constantly from the sandstone walls of the moss gardens, supporting a lush carpet of mosses, ferns and liverworts. Beneath, tree ferns straining for sunlight. A small waterfall tumbles over a rock ledge into an icy pool. Water seeps out of the sandstone, where it comes against the impervious shale, as it forever moves downwards. At this point it is pushed out of the stone, and has enables vegetation to exist undeterred by any drought for hundreds of years. Local people say, if you only can do a trekking to Carnarvon Gorge, do not miss Moss Garden, and they are absolutely right. We get back to the Moss Garden sign to go right on the main track to the amphitheatre, stopping for a few minutes to admire a few birds in the area. The Australian king parrot, the pale-headed rosella, the sulphur-crested cockatoo, the red-backed fairy wren, at the amphitheatre sign, turn left for the creek crossing. Then an ascent brings us to the base of the walls. A lush area of cabbage tree palms. Among them there is a steep ladder. After climbing it and passing through a sliver of an opening in the wall of the gorge, we are rewarded with the sight of the amphitheater. A 60 meters deep chamber gouged from the rock by running water. A place to let the imagination run wild. Sitting quietly in this amazing place, you can imagine being the first person to discover this geological marvel. Resounding acoustics add to the awe-inspiring atmosphere within its borders. A place to behold. Back in time, a history written on rock by people and nature.